Greetings of the day, everyone. I am Dr. Ekta Sharma from Pandit Neki Ram Sharma Government College, Rohtak. Today, I am going to discuss Sonnet 18, written by William Shakespeare, with all of you. This sonnet has been included in the syllabus of BA 3rd semester English pass course. Students, before starting with the explanation of the sonnet line by line, let us discuss something about the poet first. As I have told you earlier also, this sonnet 18 is written by William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was a well-known playwright and poet of Elizabethan age. He was born in 1564 at Stratford-upon-Avon in Warwickshire. As a young man, he left Stratford for a career in London, where he joined a theatre as an actor and playwright. His first published work, Venus and Adonis, was dedicated to the Earl of Southampton. Shakespeare's dramatic career extended over a period of 24 years, that is, from 1588 to 1612. He wrote more than 30 plays, which include histories, tragedies, comedies, as well as pastoral romances. His plays were first published in quarto editions, which began to appear in 1597. A complete edition of his plays was published in 1623. This is known as the First Folio, the first fully authorized edition of his plays. Shakespeare wrote poetry in narrative and lyric forms. His famous sonnets, the last of his non-dramatic works, were published in 1609. Students, what is the meaning of sonnet? The word sonnet is derived from the Italian word sonetto, which means a little song or small lyric. In poetry, a sonnet has 14 lines and is written in iambic pentameter. Each line has 10 syllables. It has specific rhyme scheme. The sonnet was developed in Italy. The sonnet can be of two kinds. First, the Italian or the Petrarchan sonnet. It is named after the 14th century Italian poet Petrarch. It is divided into two parts. The first part is known as octave and the second part is known as sestet. Octave means the first 8 lines of the poem, and it has a rhyme scheme of ABBA, ABBA. The sestet means the final 6 lines, which follow a rhyme scheme of CDE, CDE or CD, CD, CD. In most sonnets of this kind, the octave proposes a question or an idea that the sestet comments upon or criticizes. The Petrarchan sonnet was almost always concerned with courtly love or written in the praise of love and beauty. Now let's discuss the second type of sonnet. The second type of sonnet is known as the English or Shakespearean sonnet. It was born out of Italian form and it was introduced by Thomas Wyatt and the Earl of Surrey into English poetry in the first half of 16th century. They experimented with the Petrarchan forms. The English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet, named after its famous practitioner William Shakespeare, differs from the Petrarchan sonnet in some fundamental ways. It is made up of 3 quatrains ending with a couplet. What is a quatrain? A quatrain is a 4-line stanza. The rhyme scheme most usually followed is AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. The quatrains usually propose and explore an idea that the concluding couplet most often refutes or the couplet puts a different spin on it. Hence, this concluding couplet is also known as volta or turn of idea. The Shakespearean sonnet is usually written in iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter is a poetic meter with 10 beats per line made up of alternating unstressed and stressed syllables. Students, let's discuss something about Shakespearean sonnets. The sonnets written by William Shakespeare are a profound meditation on time and mortality and how love can survive time. Sonnets 1 to 17 are in the form of persuasions. The poet is trying to persuade a young and fair youth to marry and procreate. Marriage and procreation seem to be the path to immortality. From sonnet 18 onwards, the poet seems to feel that the fair youth would be better immortalized through poetry. His devotion to the youth and the poet's determination to immortalize his love for the beauty of the fair youth is the major theme until sonnet 126. From sonnet 127 onwards, the central character is a dark lady. These sonnets are universally acclaimed to be of high literary merit and are unique in terms of style as well as depth. This was all a general description about Shakespearean sonnets. Students, now let's discuss the particular sonnet which is prescribed in your syllabus. That sonnet is Sonnet 18. Sonnet 18, often titled Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, is one of the best known in the sequence of Shakespeare's sonnets. It is the first poem among the sonnets which clearly does not encourage the fair youth to marry and have children, and it is the first rhyme to pay tribute to the beauty. The poet relies on his poetic powers to immortalize the qualities of the fair youth. The poem is a statement of praise about the beauty of the fair youth who is more lovely and temperate than a summer's day. It is a typical Shakespearean sonnet which consists of 3 quatrains followed by a couplet. It has the rhyme scheme AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. There is a shift in the poet's subject matter beginning with the 3rd quatrain. The poem is remarkable for its simplicity and loveliness. Let me recite this sonnet for all of you. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Ah, such a wonderful sonnet it is. Sonnet 18 is devoted to praising a friend or lover traditionally known as the fair youth. The sonnet itself is a guarantee that this person's beauty will be sustained. Even death will be silenced because the lines of words will be read by the future generations. When speaker and the poet are no more, this sonnet will keep the fair image alive through the power of verse. William Shakespeare opens the poem with a question addressing his friend. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? The speaker is in confusion whether he should compare the young man's beauty with that of summer or not. And then he drops the idea as he believes that his friend is too perfect to be compared with summer. The next line, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Here art is R, A-R-E, R. In this line, he emphasizes that his dear friend is more lovely and more temperate than the summer's day. Whereas the summer is extreme with its harshness, his lover's beauty is gentler and more restrained than the summer. Let me tell you the meanings of some difficult words used in the opening lines. In the first line, the poet has used the word thee. Thee means you. Similarly, in the second line, the poet has used thou. Thou also means you. These two words, thee and thou, are now archaic, means they are not in use nowadays. Art means are, I have told you earlier also, and temperate means moderate. The opening line is almost a tease, reflecting the speaker's uncertainty as he attempts to compare his lover with a summer's day. The image of perfect English summer's day is then surpassed as the second line reveals that the lover is more lovely and more temperate. Lovely is still quite commonly used in English and carried the same meaning, that is, very attractive, very beautiful, whilst temperate in Shakespeare's time means gentle-natured, restrained, moderate and composed. Now the next two lines, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaf hath all too short a date. In these lines, the speaker has personified summer. He says that the violent summer winds are a threat to the beautiful new flower buds that popped up in the early summer. He argues that summer doesn't last very long. It will end and is only for a short lease. Lease means time. The summer must abide by the agreements made to the weather. Here, Shakespeare describes the fragility and short duration of summer's beauty. The use of the word lease reminds us of the fact that everything beautiful remains so for a limited period of time and only while its beauty will be forcibly taken away. Shakespeare describes the fragility and short duration of summer's beauty. The use of the word lease reminds us of the fact that everything beautiful remains so for a limited time only, and after a while its beauty will be forcibly taken away. Students, now let's discuss the next two lines of the sonnet. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. These lines concentrate on the ups and downs of the weather. Here, the nature is personified. The poet says that sometimes the sun is too hot and sometimes too dimmed due to clouds. So, the poet refers the sun as the eye of heaven and the golden face of the sun as his golden complexion. The poet is praising the beauty of his beloved friend indirectly by showing us the shortcomings of the otherwise beautiful summer season. Summertime in England is a hit and miss affair weather-wise. Winds blow, rain clouds gather, and before you know where you are, summer has come and gone in a week. The season seems all too short. That's true for today as it was in Shakespeare's time. And people tend to moan when it's too hot and grumble when it's overcast. As summer is occasionally short, too hot and rough, summer is, in fact, not the height of beauty for this particular speaker. Instead, he attributes that quality to his beloved friend whose beauty will never fade. Now let's discuss the 7th and the 8th line of the sonnet. And every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Here, the speaker says that everything changes with time. Even the most beautiful things fade and lose their charm. He says that all beautiful things will eventually become less beautiful. Every beautiful thing will fade either by chance or through the natural course of time. The word untrimmed means the things which are not trimmed or cut, the things which are shaggy. Let's start with the next two lines. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Shakespeare says that though the beauty of things decline with time, the beauty of youth, that is, his beloved friend, will not degrade. The beloved summer, that is, his happy summer days, is eternal and will never fade of its charm, nor will the beauty of his friend. The word owest conveys the idea that beauty is something which is borrowed from nature and it must be paid back as the time goes by. Now let's discuss the other two lines of the sonnet. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. In these lines, Shakespeare says that death will not be able to boast seeing the lover wandering under its shade. The speaker personifies death here. He opines that although death has always had an upper hand over life, the beauty of his friend will live in his poem through eternity. The death will never be able to lay hands on his beloved as he is immortal. Death is shown as someone who can brag about the souls he has taken to the darkness, that is, underworld or in his shade. The meaning of brag is boast of. The poet says that his lover shall stay fair and he can even cheat death and time by becoming eternal. Now come to the concluding lines of the sonnet. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The last two lines are couplets, and here William Shakespeare makes a prediction that this poem about his beloved's beauty will be acclaimed throughout the ages till men live on this earth. As long as life will go on, his poem will be read by men and women, and through this poem his love will also live. The couplet announces the eternity of his friend's youth. The narrator believes that his friend will be remembered for his poem as long as there is life on earth. Whenever readers will go through the lines of the poem, they will surely remember his friend too. The sonnet 18 focuses on the loveliness of a friend or lover, the speaker initially asking a rhetorical question, comparing him to a summer's day. Then he goes on to introduce the pros and cons of the weather, from an idyllic English summer's day to a less welcome dimmed sun and rough winds. In the end, it is the poetry that will keep the lover alive forever and ever, defying even death. Now let's discuss the literary style of this sonnet. Sonnet 18 is an English or Elizabethan sonnet, meaning it contains 14 lines, including 3 quatrains and a couplet. This sonnet is written in iambic pentameter. The poem follows the rhyme scheme as AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. The poet has also used apostrophe in this sonnet. This device is used when a poet addresses his or her poem to an absent audience. In this sonnet, the poet uses the device of an apostrophe when he addresses all his words to his beloved or friend, whom we never see responding at any point in the poem. Shakespeare has also used similes in this sonnet. Similes are used when an overt comparison is made between two different things. In this sonnet, the poet uses the device of simile in line 1 itself when he makes a comparison between his beloved friend and a summer's day and then says it is not an appropriate comparison to make. Shakespeare has also used metaphor in this sonnet. This device is used when a covert comparison is made between two different things or ideas. In this sonnet, the poet uses the device of metaphor in line 4 when he compares summer with a landlord who leases out his property only for a short time. Again, in line 5, he compares the sun with the eye of heaven. In line 6 also, he compares the color of the sun with that of gold. Finally, in line 9, he compares the youth and beauty of his beloved or his friend with the summer season. The poet has also used personification in this sonnet. This device is used to bestow human qualities on something that is not human. In this sonnet, the poet uses the device of personification with respect to death in line 11 when he endows death with the human ability to brag or boast. The poet has also used alliteration in this sonnet. Alliteration refers to the repetition of consonant sounds in a sequence of words, particularly at the beginning of a word or of a stressed syllable within a word. The examples of alliteration in this sonnet are shall and summer, do and darling, hot and heaven, fair from fair, chance changing and course, and long lives and life. This sonnet is definitely a great lyric and a dramatic poem. Sonnet 18 is no doubt the best known of all sonnets of Shakespeare. Shakespeare wrote 154 sonnets, but this sonnet tends to top most popular lists mainly due to the opening line, which every romantic knows of by heart. But there is much more to this line than meets the eye, as we all find out later in the analysis of the poem. This sonnet, no doubt, provides insight into Shakespeare as an artist, and the sonnet derives its artistic unity from its exploration of the universal human themes of time, death, change, love, lust, and beauty. Thus, the sonnet can be considered as one of the greatest sonnet of English literature. Dear students, I hope that you have developed a clear understanding of the sonnet by now. Let's now begin the discussion about the important question answers based on this sonnet. Let's begin with very short answer type questions. Question number 1. How is the gold complexion of the sun dimmed? Let's try to answer this question. The gold complexion of the sun is dimmed by the clouds which gather in the sky with the approach of the storm. Question number 2. What is meant by the term eternal summer? The answer: the term eternal summer refers to the everlasting beauty of the poet's friend or beloved. Next question. Why does every fair from fair sometime declines? Answer: with the passage of time, everything that is fair declines and loses its beauty. Another question of the same type. What will death not do to the poet's friend? Answer: death will not be able to boastfully drag the poet's friend to its shade. Next question. Thou wanderest in his shade. Whose shade is referred to by the poet? Answer will be: here the words his shade refer to the shadow of death. Another important question. According to Shakespeare, how can eternal summer be maintained? The possible answer will be, according to Shakespeare, eternal summer can be maintained through the lines of his poetry, which will live eternally. Another important question from examination point of view. What is the message of the sonnet? The message conveyed in the sonnet is that Shakespeare's verse will be ever remembered. His poetry would be eternal, and those whom he depicts in his poetry would also live eternally through the lines in his verse. Another very important question. What are the themes of this Shakespeare's sonnet? The answer will be, the themes that are discussed in this sonnet are the brevity of time, the temporal nature of beauty and life, and the timelessness of poetry. Students, now let's discuss some long answer type questions. First question. What images of summer do we find in the sonnet, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day"? Answer. Shakespeare has used different images of summer to compare his friend's beauty and establish that his friend is even more beautiful than a bright summer day. He says that his friend is lovelier and more temperate than a summer's day. He tells about the rough winds which shake the darling buds of May. The poet also gives the picture of the bright and clear sky of summer being suddenly dimmed by the clouds. Sometimes the sun shines so brightly that it can be scorching, while at other times its brightness is dimmed, which concludes that the beauty of summer is not stable. The poet uses contrasting images of summer to bring about the fact that his friend's beauty is more permanent and stable than the summer season. Let's begin with question number 2. Comment on the last 2 lines of the sonnet. The answer will be, the last 2 lines of the couplet are the concluding lines of Shakespeare's sonnet number 18. In these lines, we see that the poet expressing his hope of immortalizing his friend's beauty through the lines of his verse. In the sonnet, we see that he finds his friend more beautiful than the summer's day. The poet establishes the fact that nothing is permanent in this world, not even a summer's day. Everything beautiful is subject to decay. But the poet says that his friend's beauty is more temperate than a summer's day, and it will never decay because he would take the responsibility to make it immortal through the lines of his verse. Even death cannot drag his friend into oblivion because his friend would survive the ravages of time and death through his verse. As long as the human race would survive and read his poetry, his friend would live amongst the lines of his verse. His poetry would give his friend an eternal life, which even death cannot take away. Another important question, it can be asked like, what is the substance of the sonnet? The answer will be, the sonnet begins with the poet's question as to whether he could compare the beauty of his friend with that of a summer's day. The poet finally compares the beauty of the friend with that of the summer's day and states that the beauty of his friend is more temperate than the summer's day. Summer's day is inconsistent as the summer sun is either too hot or clouded and dimmed at times. Often the rough winds shake the buds of May. But the poet is confident that the beauty of his friend is going to withstand the ravages of time. The poet is confident that his poetry will eternalize his friend and bestow immortality on him. As long as men can live and breathe, his poetry would ensure that his friend would be remembered and the beauty of his friend would live forever. So, this was all about Sonnet 18. Thank you and have a nice day.